Hello, and welcome to another edition of All or Not, according to Jack, as Pete laughs at the way I introduce myself.
Hello.
I got to do it a little different than you do, but welcome back to my show, Pete. It was
Thanks for
really
having
good
me back.
seeing you last week for Sea of Tranquility Fall Fest. That was
Indeed.
a shit ton of fun. I
It
had a
was a lot.
blast.
It
What's
was
that?
a lot. It was a lot of fun. It really was. We had some hiccups along the way, but I think at the end of the day, everybody just had a blast. The whole weekend was so much fun, and we all, got to hang out with each other, and a lot of really cool, fun people showed up. And it was, I think, I'm trying to remember who said it best. I think Jamie Laszlo said it best. He said, this was like a weekend full of love that he goes, I haven't experienced in a
Since he
long
was like
time, with
15, I
all
think
these
he said.
people that I've never
Yeah.
met in person before.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Well, he basically said since he was like 13 or 15, I thought I saw that quote on Facebook somewhere.
Yeah.
But in any event, so I have a bunch of questions that I'd like to go through with you. Uh, I'm hoping that some of these things you did not cover with Martin last Friday at the Fun House, so we'll see how it goes. So, first thing is very basic. If you could just take us through how you put this fest together, securing the chants, the bands, how difficult was it?
Well, so the seeds for this were kind of planted back in 2020 when Greg Ross, who's the bass player for Epic Tantrum, reached out to me. So Epic Tantrum is a like a modern progressive rock band from Syracuse, New York, and they had sent me their album for review, which I did, and they were very ecstatic about the review we gave it. And then he had a conversation. I don't know, a couple months later, he reached back out to me and said, "Hey," he goes, "would you be interested in like doing some kind of music festival? Have you ever done that before?" And I was like, "No, I've never done that before." I said, "Why do you ask?" And he says, "Well, because in addition to playing in the band," he goes, "I own a merch company and I've actually done like live music event promotions." And he was telling me at the time that he just did like an 80s new wave festival at the time. And he's done various other things. And, he says, I know because, in 2020, we were in the beginnings of the pandemic, right? So nobody was going out to see live music. So he goes, would you be interested in maybe working with me to put together a like a virtual festival for Sea of Tranquility, which we did, and that was a long process trying to reach out to bands to get them to put together videos that they recorded during the pandemic, or maybe something they recorded just prior to the pandemic. We had Uriah Heep and Doro Pesh, and all these great acts that it was like a 2.5 hour program that we streamed live on the channel. So that was fun. A lot of work, right? But it was fun.
Mm-hmm.
So after we did that, Greg was like, maybe someday when the climate's a little bit more open to it, whenever we get out of this COVID-19 shit, maybe we could do something in person. So I was like, okay, we'll see how it goes. So in like, I guess it was maybe late 2021, Greg reached out back out to me and he said, "So, what do you think about doing like a live festival somewhere?" And I was like, "Okay, well, I don't know how to set this stuff up. I've never done this before, right?" So thankfully, he has done these sort of things before. So basically, he goes, "Well, how it would work is, you know, he would be the kind of the promoter, the organizer of it. He would do all the negotiating with the bands and the venue, but he wanted to use the SOT brand to bring people to the event, and to make it specifically for SOT viewers because we do have a large following. But of course, he wanted suggestions from me on where to have it, and what type of bands we wanted to get. So of course he had suggestions as well. So he felt it made a lot of sense to keep it in the Hudson Valley, which I agreed with because that's where I'm from. That's we have a good amount of people who not only appear on the channel who live in the area, but also a lot of viewers from around here. So we just went looking at various different places, and we kind of always came back to the Chance because that's really the only like rock venue like right here. And it's got a lot of history. We looked at like Tarrytown and Peekskill and
Oh,
various other
really?
places, Kingston, and really in the end, what really made sense and the one venue that really seemed to want to work with us was the Chance. So once we kind of had that date kind of set, which was always going to be, I was either going to be the last weekend in September or the first weekend in October. Then it was trying to get bands, right? So, Greg started asking me, well, what type of bands? Do you want to do a full on prog? Do you want to do some hard rock? Do you want to do metal? And, to kind of keep tradition with what we do on the channel, I kind of wanted to have a little bit of everything because that's what we do on the channel. We do metal, we do hard rock, classic rock, pop, prog, fusion. We do all this stuff. So initially, we wanted to have it be a multi-genre type of a day. And Greg also suggested, well, would you like to do like maybe initially we were talking about doing 2 days, and he felt very strongly, and I quickly agreed that we would recreate the shows that we do on Sea of Tranquility live on stage. So we would do like a Hudson Valley Squares segment. We would do me and Martin. We would do in the Prague Sea. We were talking initially about doing, Monsters Den and just trying to do all the different shows we do live on stage in front of an audience, like with a Q&A, and then have a bunch of bands. So we talked to all sorts of bands, Jack. Some wanted way too much money for the budget that Greg had put on the table. Some now, as most people know, most bands are back out on tour. The COVID thing has kind of died down and bands are out there touring. So we ran into the whole, well, bands were interested, but they were already booked for other gigs.
Oh,
So we had a bunch of bands that we really wanted to get that were already, October 1st was no good for them anymore. We had one could have been a really, really, really big draw for us that really wanted to play the festival, but they wanted way too much money. Like, more like 3 times more than what the bands we actually got, negotiated with wanted. So that didn't work out. We had Jim Baki's band Hitman were all psyched to play, but then something came up for the singer and he couldn't make it, so they wound up not being able to play. But in the end, we got we got Pat Travers, Vanilla Fudge, who have the same management team, so that made that kind of easy. So because they same manager, they kind of almost came like a package deal, so to speak. And then Nectar were actually the first band that we signed up for this. And as folks probably know, the Nectar wound up not playing in the end due to some technical difficulties that happened during the day, which I'm not going to get into. But yeah, so we had those 2 bands. We had Epic Tantrum also played. Now that since Greg was helping put this whole thing together, that was a given that Epic Tantrum would always play on the bill. Sonus Umbra, which is Louis Nasser's band, was going to play, but the week before, again, some things came up with various members in the band, and it went from being the full band to an acoustic trio to then they couldn't even do the acoustic trio. So they were off the bill. Rick Labonte stepped in. He recruited Louis on bass and Eric Porter from in the Prague Seat and 4 Fusion Friday to play guitar, and they, within a week, put together like a short 30-minute set of some covers and Rick Labonte originals, never played together before ever, and made it happen. And they were really, really good.
they were,
yeah. That came out really, really well. And then we also thought it was a good idea to get some star power there, to not necessarily perform, but to do like a Q&A with the audience and kind of tell some stories of the road and classic albums. So we got Chris Caffrey from Savatage and Trans-Siberian Orchestra, who I have a long history with, and Andy Powell, guitarist, singer, and founding member of Wishbone Ash, which I thought was terrific. And he came up and he and I did a Q&A with the crowd, and he talked a bit about the 50th anniversary of the Argus album, and then he played and sang a song, which was great. So all in all, despite a few difficulties during the course of the day, mostly from a technical perspective with equipment and sound and whatnot, people seem to have a really, really good time. And it was it's a tough weekend because it's early in October, and there was homecoming weekend for people who have kids in college. The weather wasn't great, but I think that ultimately everybody who was there had a really, really good time. Would I have liked to see more people there? For sure. But there was a big 3-day prog festival happening in New Jersey just this past weekend that also didn't have a large attendance either. So I think it's industry wide right now. It's like the big bands are doing good business out on the road. A lot of the smaller bands, maybe the older bands, they're having a hard time drawing. That's just because times are tough. Money's tight for a lot of people, and COVID is still slightly a bit of an issue. So I think there were some factors, but we had about 200 people that came, and everybody had a great time. And that's
Yeah.
what it's all about.
So my next question was going to be, and so where I work, we do this thing after a big project where we talk about lessons learned. Uh, so we kind of already talked about, and you covered this with Martin, what went well. What do you think could have been better?
Well, number one, if I were to do it all over again, it would have to be, I think. Here's the thing: a lot of people, to me, what I heard and read out there is that a lot of people, because Poughkeepsie's in a weird kind of place in the Hudson Valley, and hotels are not readily accessible. It became a little difficult for people who wanted to travel in to find affordable rooms that weren't 5-10 miles away. The hotel's right, and again, it was the weekend, right? It was October 1st. There's two
Yeah.
colleges in Poughkeepsie. It was homecoming weekend, so it was hard to get rooms, and then if you could find a room, they were astronomical prices, right? So there's that. I don't think, in hindsight, for what we wanted to do with this, in the end, I don't think the Chance was the right place.
Right.
Okay, I think
Agree.
it was fine. Everybody had a good time. I think we made it work, but in the end, for one, based on how many people came, if we didn't have the issue with the PA and we would have had it in the regular Chance Theater, which is much bigger, the place would have looked absolutely empty. As it stood, we had to have it in the loft stage, which is kind of upstairs. It was pretty crowded in there, right? Because that's much smaller.
Right.
I think if we were to do it all over again, there's lots of things I would do differently. I think the panel stuff in the afternoon was great, and I think a lot of people in attendance, that's really what they were looking forward to the most. And it's something that Martin and I talked about. I think it would have been, I think in the future, if we were to do it again, it would be really nice to do this more as a convention with a band or two playing at the end of the day, as opposed to a whole evening where we're cramming 30-minute sets of music in and not really having enough time to do all the panel stuff, because they all ran over a little bit. I think a lot of people in attendance told me they wished they had more time with that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think having it at a place that maybe isn't necessarily a concert venue, but has like
Right.
banquet or convention facilities where you can have separate rooms for separate things, have a nice big vendor room. Because I think we were also missing that. The bands had their stuff for sale, but it would have been nice to have like a couple of music vendors.
Absolutely.
Steve from Rock Fantasy couldn't really make it happen for this, which was unfortunate.
Kind of like what
No,
we had. They had a Near Fest. There was those couple of
100%, yes, yeah, and a lot of these festivals, that's what they do. It's like you have all sorts of things going on. You have a big vendor room, and people look forward to seeing what stuff's going to be available. You have the merch from the bands who are playing. I think maybe for a first time, we were a little bit too aggressive with how much we wanted to pack into the day. And I
yeah.
think, obviously it wound up running long, and with the technical issues we ran into, it just, so I don't know, looking back, probably a couple too many bands. I think maybe if we were to do it again, two, decent bands, maybe one like real headliner and another really good band, maybe three tops, but then really play off the panel discussions and the whole convention aspect, and definitely have a vendor room, and try and get some vendors who, that's what they do, they sell product, and they have albums, movies, CDs, all the stuff, shirts and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, and it just and I don't think we built in enough time for breaks either.
Yeah.
The 1 hour was not really enough because I saw
No.
a lot of people, kind of coming and going all day long, and
Mm.
you know, I know they didn't want to miss anything, but it's like, you got to go out and grab something to eat. You want to go out and get some fresh air. You want to go maybe have a beer or two or something.
Right.
So you want to maybe go back to the hotel. Hotels aren't that close, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, in hindsight, there were a bunch of things that I would have done differently, but we didn't know, right? We didn't know.
Well, it's a jumping off point, and you can definitely take notes and and think about it for next year. But so my next question, this is like a two or three parter, and I think this is a very good one. So I've been reading a lot of the comments too, both the show that I did the other day and the one that you did, and a lot of people have commented. Uh, Many people have asked for footage, in particularly for the panels. Would you consider doing that in the future? And would you consider maybe doing like a pay-per-view for a nominal fee?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, this year was an experiment. So obviously a ton of people who watch us from all parts of the globe obviously couldn't make it, and there were some people who couldn't do it for financial reasons or health reasons or job reasons, and they're like, oh, if you're going to have if you could stream it, I'll watch it, right? And it's
Yeah,
like, that the problem is when it comes to the bands, that gets very complicated because there are
yeah,
rights and
yes.
copyrights issues, right? But we could have easily done that for the panel stuff in the afternoon.
Mhm.
Thankfully, for those watching, Greg Ross did record a bunch of the afternoon sessions. He's just trying to put it all together and getting the files to me. So once I get that, we will post them on the
All right.
channel. So those are coming. Again, I don't know if we have everything complete or not of the Hudson Valley Squares and in the Prague Seat and Martin and myself and Caffrey and myself and Andy Powell and myself. I don't know. I'll have to wait till that stuff arrives. But yeah, again, if we do it again, would I love to do that? For sure. That makes everything more complicated, obviously.
Right.
But I know if there is like a pay-per-view component or something like that, I think we, could potentially have a lot of people who would watch. But what do I know? So
Well, I mean, I think for a nominal fee, it would be good because, this way people, and people want to contribute to your channel and some people are, they're going to want to be there for the live event, but then the people that really can't, I think they'd really, enjoy it. And I don't know if you charge 10, 20, 30, I think you'd get people to, yeah.
yeah. So we'll see. But yeah, it's I absolutely think it'd be a good idea. I think we just wanted to get this one under our belts and see how it went. And like I said, there was so much going on setting all this up. I mean, Liv, just so everybody knows. In fact, I never even finished telling the story. Greg and I started talking about doing this like last fall,
Oh,
and literally it was month after month after month of trying to get bands to sign up and finishing up all the details with the chants and then getting the merch and figuring out what to put on the t-shirt and all that stuff and putting together the start, the times list, the slots and all that. And so it was, the last couple of months were really, really busy. For a few months there, it was just kind of like, putting feelers out and talking to some of the bands. But the last couple of months was a lot of promotion on our end. We ran ads, all over Facebook and
yeah.
iHeartMedia and in the local,
Oh, I didn't know
newspapers in
that.
the Hudson Valley. And yeah, so there was the radio station. So there was a lot of that going on. So, and I was, quite frankly, I was very disappointed that not many Hudson Valley people showed up to this,
Yeah.
other than
Well,
people, obviously that are involved with the channel. I mean, but just like casual people that normally would go to the chance to see
no,
shows on a regular basis. I didn't see
this
any of
could
those people.
I'm going to probably skip a question and then get back to the other one, but this could segue into the next thing. Uh, how do you think you could attract more people from, say, the Hudson Valley, tri-state area, or the Northeast in general?
Well, I mean, the problem is festivals are for music nerds. And I think that the casual music fan who just, it's Friday night, let's go to the chance and catch a couple bands, they hear festival and they're like, oh, that's all day long. I don't know when any of
Yeah,
the bands are playing. I'm not going to go to that. That's the problem.
yeah,
Um, but I thought that like Pat Travers or Vanilla Fudge or even Nectar are big enough names on their own
yeah.
to draw their fans who may not even know who we were or
I
are.
did so in the evening. I went downstairs. I had to just get a little fresh air, and I struck up a conversation with somebody who actually was there for Vanilla Fudge, and he was a fan of theirs and never heard of us. And I explained to him a little bit, what Sea of Tranquility was all about, and he wished me luck to pass on to you and Greg, but he was there specifically for um, you know
I
Vanilla
don't think there
Fudge.
was many of them though.
Yeah,
Like it didn't seem to me that there was
right.
that many of those people. So that I was surprised because I mean we heard from the Chance directly that the last time that Pat Travers played there, which I don't know, 4 years ago or something, he drew like 400 people. So
Wow.
on his own. So
Wow.
yeah, and Vanilla Fudge just played in Peekskill, I think late last year, and they had like 300 people. So you know,
Well, what happens is, times change, and if they don't release a new album, it's like some of the bands that I see that come around every year. I mean, how many times can you see
well,
them?
that's it too. I mean, that's a big
Yeah,
thing too because Vanilla Fudge, Nectar, while Nectar never plays in the Hudson Valley, Nectar played in the city, plays in Jersey. Nectar has played quite a bit up in Albany, I believe, or the Albany area. So Nectar has played, the tri-state area a bit over the last couple of years. Pat Travers has played in Middletown and played in Dutchess County, or not Dutchess County, Orange County a year or so ago. So, these three headliners have been around in this area
mm,
a bit over the last bunch of years. So it's like, yeah, so people are probably like, oh, I saw Pat a year ago. I saw Nectar last year. I don't know about some of these other bands because I got contacted by people the weeks leading up. It's like, what time does Pat Travers come on? Because I'm just going to show up just to see him. So they're not interested in the festival aspect. So
right.
the
Yeah, yeah.
festival aspect is for a very niche audience. Whereas, a one off headliner concert, like, I'm not going to name the name, but it's like if we had said we're just going to get one band, and the one band I was talking about earlier who really wanted to play and is a big name, but they wanted too much money, we could have done the whole afternoon thing like we did, and then just have that band play, and that's the cap of the whole day. That caps off the whole day, and we would have had probably 500 people there. But it's
Food
so
for
yeah, I
thought.
don't, how to draw more people. I don't know. Another thing too, the bands that the three headliners that we had, most of their fans are older, right? Like our age and older.
Well,
So how, a lot of people our age don't go to shows anymore.
well, here's a question, and I didn't even write this down. This is just right off the top of my head just now. Have you thought about maybe doing like a think tank, getting a whole bunch of us together, like all your Sea of Tranquility people, your in the Prague seat, me, a few others, and just having like a round table and discussing, throwing ideas, or even just having people write in ideas?
Yeah, well, like for bands, you mean, or
Well, just
music?
the whole festival in general.
Yeah, I mean, we could certainly do that. I've been to God, I went to Nearfest for like, 7, 8 years. And that's how you run a festival, right? That's
Yeah,
on a much bigger scale, obviously, because it's
right.
it's a whole weekend, and you're getting bands that people want to see who are into the music. The interesting thing about what we do, which makes it more difficult, is like I mentioned before, we cover a bunch of different genres on the channel. We have people who are really into metal and they watch the metal stuff we do. We have people who only listen to prog rock, and that's the programs that we do on prog. That's all they watch. We have the people who are into the horror movies, and they watch that. So sometimes, when you want to put together a music event like this, and you want to, like, I originally thought, well, I want to have a metal band, and I want to have a prog band, I want to have a classic rock band, I want to have a hard rock band. But then you have problem when you get people who want to come and they're like, I'm only interested in Nectar, I could care less about Pat Travers and Vanilla Fudge, or I only know Pat Travers, I've never really listened to Vanilla Fudge, I have no idea who Nectar is.
Right.
And it's hard to come up with a roster of performers that are going to appeal to everybody.
Yeah.
And that's difficult. And that used to happen at Nearfest all the time. It's like they would book a lot of these really cool, like classic and newer prog bands, but then they would always throw like one prog metal band on the bill, and all
Right.
the old school prog fans are like, oh, that prog metal band, yeah, I did not like them at all. It's just like, so it's kind of hard.
Yeah, so the person I ran into down in the street, he complained about one of the acts, but I'm not gonna say who, but yeah, he well, I think it was more of a sound issue. I heard some grumblings about the sound, and I witnessed it myself where, they were trying to get the two mics together for Rick, and they couldn't. They could only get the one mic going. So
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, there were a lot of technical problems during the day because we weren't really planning on doing any of the music upstairs, and the
Yeah,
venue upstairs,
that's true.
everybody you talk to says that historically doesn't have great sound up there, and we
Uh-huh.
saw that firsthand, right? So yeah.
Okay, so you know what? We've covered most of this. Let's see. Have you already thought about have you already thought about next year's SOT Fest or had any conversations with Greg and started planning it?
Not yet. I think it's a little too soon. I think
Okay.
I kind of want to kind of step away from it for a month or two
Yeah.
before we say, hey, do we want to try this again? And maybe a lot of things we've already covered here so far, and talk about how we could do it a little differently, where we could do it, where would make most sense. Like I said, I think based on how it went, which again was a lot of fun, I would like to turn it more, if we do it again, I would like to turn it more into like a convention type atmosphere.
Yeah.
We do have music, but it's not a festival of
Right.
all as much music as we had. I think I would like to do some other kind of fun things and have some music, but not have music be the focal point. But instead, bring in one really good headliner, maybe two other bands, and then the rest of the day is just kind of fun, geeky stuff for the people who like
Right.
that sort of thing, right? Like,
Well, when it comes time to do the panels, I'd love to give you some input because I think I have some good ideas, but
cool.
yeah. Um, so I think we covered pretty much everything. So I don't know if you answered this. Would you hold it at the chance again?
No.
Okay, I didn't think so. Uh, the length of the event, I think we covered that, right? Would
Yeah.
it be all day or?
It was a little long, I thought. And again, if you maybe have two less musical performances, you could start it at noon and be done by 9 or 10 o'clock. The late. I mean, we went from like 12:30 in the afternoon till almost midnight, and that
Yeah.
was a little too long. I think I would have liked it if like by 10 o'clock it's all done.
Imagine if Nectar did play.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, if they play, we're going till 1 o'clock in the morning or
Yeah,
later. So
yeah.
yeah, it's like, you know, yeah, it's a long day. It's a really long day. We didn't have enough breaks timed in. It's just
Right.
I think it can be done like a full day event, or maybe it is a 2 day event. Like I said, maybe I can envision doing something like this at like at a hotel that has,
Mm.
a stage capacity, that has large conference rooms, ballrooms, and
Mm.
you make it like a full day thing. But you've got vendors, and you've got panel discussions, you got some music, right? You have a little bit of everything, but yet you have people can go to and from their rooms, can stay at the hotel. There's
Mm.
enough rooms to hold everything, where there's other nearby hotels. There's great places to go eat and drink that are walking distances. I got spoiled all those years going to Nearfest, because it was in a small little town. You had college there, a great venue, lots of
I
places to
love
eat
that
and drink.
college venue. That
Yeah, I mean,
college,
it's just, yeah,
that
just
was great. That auditorium, then you had the side rooms for the vendors.
yeah.
I thought it was wonderful, and it was on a nice campus.
Yeah. I mean, the place that I really, really wanted to have this at was the Paramount Theater in Peekskill, which is a gorgeous little,
Wow.
900 seater, maybe 1,000. I'm not even sure how many people it holds. It's not big, but it's
So
comfortable.
yeah,
It has a nice, when you walk in, it's very nice. What do you call it? What do you call it when you first walk in?
oh, the foyer. foyer.
Yes, you walk in a really nice foyer, but more importantly, the town of Peekskill is so quaint.
Mm,
Literally within 2 or 3 minutes walking distance, you have bars and restaurants and eateries and shops and all sorts of stuff. The only sucky thing about Peekskill is I don't know what the hotel situation is.
yeah, I don't think
Just
so. Here's something people might not know. Well, I lived in Peekskill from 1990 to 1995, and I literally lived right down the block from that Paradise Theater, Paramount Theater,
Paramount. Yep.
right on Brown Street.
Right.
Shit, yeah, no, those buildings there.
Yeah.
But
It's a great little venue. It's a great little town. But for people traveling
but
in,
the hotel, that situation, that probably would be a little bit of an issue. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I think, we talked about maybe doing it up like in the Albany area or something, or maybe we just go out of state. I don't know.
Oh man.
That's all,
That would be awesome. If you did it in Albany, I wouldn't even have to pay for a hotel room because, yeah, I had to get the room in Fishkill and it was $200 a night basically. But I
yeah,
loved the room, but it was $200 a night.
yeah.
But
It was just, and again,
yeah,
based on the weekend, maybe we don't do it in the fall, we do it in the summer, right? Or
yeah,
summer's tough
change
because
of
people have,
time might help.
yeah, I don't know. Summer's tough
Spring,
though because people have vacation plans and
right?
all that sort of thing. So I don't know if there's any perfect time to do it, but
Yeah,
I mean, the Albany area could be great, because
right.
there's lots of cheap
Yeah.
hotels up there. It's not expensive up there
Hmm.
at all. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Back to your think tank.
Yeah,
Consider that think tank.
yeah.
So here's a fun question. So, and I got to just say that. So the show that I did the other day, where I did SOT Fest, and I recapped it in pictures. What a great viewership I got out of that. So I really appreciate that. Thank you, Pete. It was awesome.
Oh, you did a really nice job on it because I mean,
Oh,
most of
thank
the
you.
pictures I've seen, but it's cool to see them like on a slideshow like that. It's
Okay,
pretty.
well, thank you. That's kind
Pictures are
of my
great.
one of my specialties. So, but
Yeah, one of the things that for me was the highlight of the whole weekend was the camaraderie ship between all of us
right.
folks who collaborate on the channel and various channels. I think it's just cool for all of us to be hanging out in the same room and sharing
Yeah,
time on stage together, sharing a beer, sharing something to eat,
bunch of
running
people
around lugging
commented.
equipment. We're all working.
Yeah, a
It was
bunch of
fun.
people commented that yeah, they're not talking heads anymore. They're actual people with legs. And we were making jokes about who's tall and who's short.
I
And
know because you have no idea, right? Well,
yeah,
you and I know because we know each other a million years.
right.
But most of these people, I don't know how tall they are, right? And then you go in
Yeah,
person, you're like, oh, you're like 3, 4 inches shorter than I thought. Oh my God, you're like
right.
something. It's like,
Yeah.
wow. It's like, yeah, it's yep.
But
Pretty cool.
so in any event, so the last episode that I did, and if people look at the bottom of my comment section, I have the pound sign with the little acronym or name just to kind of draw people to my show. So I actually did the search on pound SOT Fest, and you'd be surprised to know that there is actually another type of SOT Fest. And I'm like, wait a second, I don't recognize these people. And they have a panel, but they only had a panel with like 3 to 5 people. Turns out, uh, in addition to Sea of Tranquility Fest, this is Sea of Thieves Festival. Basically, what it is, it's a video game of piracy. So people pretend that they're pirates, and they go through this whole scenario where they're playing a game trying to be the best pirate they possibly could, and they made a damn festival out of it. But
All right.
fortunately, uh, those videos didn't even draw as good as I draw. So
Well, I think what I did was I did hashtag SOT Fest 2022. I think is what I did. So
right, okay, yeah, okay, that's what hashtag. I was missing that, but I just did hashtag SOT Fest. So I found from other years, and yeah, but I thought that was rather funny, but you'd be proud to know that yours is more popular.
that's cool. That sounds good.
Yeah, so that's all I have, unless you have anything else. And this is This is the T-shirt. I know Martin and Pete wore this the other day, and I won't show you the back because Pete already did in his episode on Friday. So
Yeah, it was a cool shirt. He did a nice job on that. Yeah, I mean, for those of you watching who came out, thank you. It was great meeting so many of you. I wish I had more time to talk to all of you who stopped me to take a picture and ask me questions about this album or that album. And, everybody wants to sit and talk about music. And
well,
I wish
that's the beauty of this community, Pete, because you had all of us to kind of share that load and help you out. And there were people that stopped me that wanted pictures. So
yeah,
I was flattered that they asked me. And I know that there were a bunch of others, like Chris Allo had a bunch of pictures, and I Chuck Alvarez had some pictures, and whoever else.
everybody. Yeah, it's
Rick,
everybody just wanted to
Rick
interact with
LaFontaine.
us. And it was
Yeah.
cool. So for those of you who didn't make it out, but wanted to, well, we'll see what happens next year in 2023. We'll see if we can try and do something again. So time will tell.
Well, this was a very fun discussion. Do you have anything you'd like to plug before we sign off?
Let's see. When is this airing, Jack?
I'll probably put it up tomorrow morning.
Okay, cool. In the Prague seat, head on over to Sea Tranquility for In the Prague seat. In case you missed it last night, Hudson Valley Squares, we covered our favorite hard rock and metal albums of 1981. On In the Prague seat tonight, we're going to be talking about our favorite prog albums from 1972. So that's coming up. Martin Popoff and I are going to be talking on Friday of our five favorite rhythm sections of all time. So that's happening. We got some cool like Halloweeny type episodes for Monsters Den. We're going to be talking. We're doing a roundtable review of the great 2007 horror anthology film Trick or Treat this Thursday, and then next Thursday we're going to be ranking the Hammer film studio Dracula films, so the Dracula franchise. So there's 9 of them. So we're going to be ranking our favorite Hammer Dracula films next week. So yeah, lots happening. Never a shortage of things to do. We got some cool reviews coming up on the channel. This Wednesday, I'm reviewing the new Kiss Off the
Oh, nice.
Soundboards from Des Moines, Iowa. Pink Floyd Animals
Oh, wow.
remix.
I got to check that Kiss Off the Soundboard.
It's pretty good. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
pretty. I think you'll dig it. It's good.
yeah.
What else?
I was doing a lot of Kiss research because I did a bunch of Kiss episodes recently. I did Ove Rendem and I did 2 parts of our ranking the albums of Kiss, and that was a lot of fun. And in doing that, I saw those Kiss Off the Soundboards, and yeah, when I get a chance,
It's the
I
first
go,
one I've heard, so I like it. It's
oh,
good. It's basically Kiss Alive 2, but the
right.
full set and no studio tracks,
Right.
which is good.
Yes.
Yeah,
No
it's good.
tomorrow and tonight or crap
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, it's good. It's I
But
enjoyed it. So yeah, so never a shortage of things going on Sea
okay.
Tranquility. So
All right. So really what I have going on, I haven't done this in a couple weeks, and I just literally recorded an episode while I was waiting for you to get done with Hudson Valley Squares, top 3 metal albums of 1999. So that's coming and probably tomorrow, Wednesday or whatever. Then I'm going to do the year 2000 Saturday. And it's so funny because I live right near the Nassau Coliseum. So Judas Priest is going to be there next Tuesday. However, I'm going to be upstate at my second residence probably Friday till next Wednesday. So instead, I think I'm going to go see them in Albany this time. Of course, I'm up there without TV and a little bored, and I need something to do. So
you might as well go. I mean, I'm skipping this part of the tour because I've seen them like 4 times in the last
right.
couple of years.
Well, I want to make it an even 10.
There you
So
go.
and there'll be an episode to talk about it. So
There you go. There you go.
yeah.
Yeah, I got nothing till Maiden in 2 weeks. So
Well, this is actually going to be my first since the pandemic.
wow. Okay.
However, I may go see Accept and Hitman in Patchogue. Not this next weekend. I'm staying home, so I may
Yeah,
go
you'll
check
like that.
that out as
Should
well.
go. You should go. Yeah, I saw Accept earlier this year. You should go.
But also to see our friend Jim Bocci. So,
Yeah, Hitman's a great band. Really good.
yeah, looking forward to that.
Cool.
Well, all right then. You have a great night. I always appreciate when you're on. This is
Thanks for having me.
always fun. So have a good one, and everybody be well, and I will speak to you soon. Bye.
Thanks for watching.
Okay.